There are a lot of anglers in Arizona who feel the same way. Just the time spent with a rod and reel with friends or in solitude can be golden. We are graced with abundant fishing here in our many lakes and rivers, and the Arizona Game and Fish Department is doing its part to make sure there are plenty of fish to catch. This is the Arizona Game and Fish Hatchery at Page Springs. Assistant managers John Deal and Cindy Dunn are preparing one of their stock trucks to safely transport a load of rainbow trout.
We have 1-ton trucks that haul approximately half the fish probably that we stock out, and has about a 500-gallon tank on the back, and it's kind of like a big ice chest. It's designed so that it keeps the fish alive from the hatchery to the water that we're stocking. And so in the tank it has some systems that help keep the fish alive. There's O2 stones, oxygen bottles that bubble the oxygen. That's the main thing. We put the water in there, and we cool that water off and ice it, because at the lakes that we go to, they're generally colder than our hatchery. We have one of the warmest hatcheries in the whole U.S. for raising trout. We have a fish pump set up on the raceway that we are harvesting to stock the fish out on. And she goes to one end of the raceway with a pusher screen and pushes those fish up to the other end where the fish pump is. And the part of the fish pump that's down in the water, there's a funnel with a centrifugal pump that pumps the water and the fish up to the top of the funnel apparatus on the fish pump trailer. And at the very top inside that funnel, the water and the fish separate. The water returns to the raceway and the fish drop out the white tube into the truck.
There's a calibrated gauge on the side of the truck to make sure just the right amount of fish are transported, all to keep them healthy until they reach their final destination. Then the process is reversed.
When we get to the lake, we generally check water quality. But today we were stocking some fish in one of our ponds, a show pond. When we get to the lake, we will check the water temperature and the pH. And then if they are within the good parameters that let fish survive after we've stocked them, and we shoot those fish out the back of the tank by opening a slide gate. In general, most places are stocked so that, say that 1,000 fish, 80% of those would be caught out within 2 weeks. That's generally the parameters they're looking at for fishing pressure.
But getting the fish from the hatchery and into your favorite fishing hole is only a small part of the process. They raise almost 700,000 trout every year at this hatchery alone, and that takes a lot of manpower and a lot of fish food.
We get 9 semi-loads a year, 44,000 pounds every semi-load. It's about 1,000 pounds a day this time of year, and it goes down a little bit. And other times of the year we're not stocking as many fish. This is the time of year in April and May when we're putting a lot of fish out so that the fishing through the summer months will be good for the fishermen. I always say you got to put up with a little rain, which is the splash, and getting wet working with the rainbows. So they're real aggressive and they splash you, and so I call that the rainbow rain.
Page Springs is one of 6 hatcheries the Arizona Game and Fish Department operates throughout the state, and it's one of the largest. It sits on the picturesque banks of Oak Creek, just north of Cornville. Right next door is Bubbling Ponds Hatchery, which specializes in bass and bluegill, as well as native species.
That's one of the reasons that hatcheries exist. They also are for raising these native fishes that we have over here, the razorback sucker and the Colorado pike minnow, so that they don't become extinct, let alone endangered as they are right now.
All of the hatcheries welcome visitors every day of the year except for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Page Springs has a visitor center that leads you to take a self-guided tour of the facility, and you can even feed the trout in the show pond, which is great fun for the whole family, especially the kids. There are also walking trails from the parking lot that lead to remote areas of the property that are excellent for wildlife viewing. The Arizona Game and Fish Department partnered with the Northern Arizona Audubon Society to develop this aspect of the site.
A lot of different birds fly through here. We get a lot of migratory birds, a lot of ducks in the winter. We get a lot of shorebirds flying through spring and fall, just here for a week and sort of resting up, and then they head out. And It's fun to see the Canadian geese flying over in the winter and the eagles in the winter.
With the abundant water and fish here, there are over 100 species of birds that visit this area. So many so that in 1990, the Page Springs runways had to be enclosed.
There was rookeries of great blue herons all over up and down the creek, and they came in very heavy, and we lost approximately 20 to 25% of our fish would fly out of there, mostly during the off hours in the early morning or late evening or at night. And night herons did fish almost all night, and so it was a big loss, and so we covered our raceways and we eliminated that loss from that predation.
Now, we told you that Page Springs was the state's largest hatchery, and it specializes in rainbow trout. Now let's visit the smallest, which is helping an Arizona native make a comeback. This is the Arizona Game and Fish Hatchery at Silver Creek, a small but vital facility that raises and stocks the native Apache trout.
They're the native fish of Arizona, Gila trout as well, and they were in the higher mountain streams in the Apache Reservation along the Mogollon Rim. And they probably were reduced mostly in numbers because of our introductions of brown trout, which eat the Apaches, rainbow trout, which interbreed with the Apaches, and in some cases brooks will outcompete the Apaches. So it was just kind of a tough go for the Apache trout when we brought all these other sport fish in.
The Apache trout, which is the Arizona state fish, could become the first native fish in the United States to come off the endangered species list. Silver Creek raises about 100,000 Apache trout every year and then stocks them in the White Mountains as part of the Apache Trout Recovery Program.
When we get them, they're 3 inches, and we grow them to 9 inches. The standard size fish that we stock out is 9 inches. 2.8 to the pound is our technical jargon. That means there's 2.8 fish in every pound. We stock the East Fork and the West Fork of the Black River, the Little Colorado River at Sheep's Crossing and at Greer, and here.
This hatchery sits on a portion of the old Borden Ranch, which the Arizona Game and Fish Department purchased in 1978. The historic ranch house now serves as offices, and the land around the hatchery is open to the public. It's a great place to find wildlife like antelope and a wide variety of birds such as this osprey, who seems to be trying to figure out how to get all this netting out from between him and an easy lunch.
One of the other unique things about Silver Creek Hatchery is we have 840 acres wildlife area and a lot of archaeological sites. And of course, with water like this and in an area like this, it attracts a lot of wildlife. And then, of course, a lot of Native Americans were living here and utilizing the water and the wildlife. And right here you can see that they were chipping arrowheads, and this even looks like part of an arrowhead. And up and down the creek we have about 2.5 miles of stream that has numerous sites on and some petroglyphs and a lot of area for sportsmen to fish.
Now, you can't fish at the actual hatcheries, but the streams that flow out of them are open for fishing and are usually well stocked.
From the hatchery down to the bottom of our property is about 2.5 miles of stream. In the winter we have a catch and release season. We stock a little bit larger fish and a few more fish in one stocking, and then throughout the winter they catch and release. And then in the summer we put in fish every week because people, just like the rest of the state, can take 6 fish a day.
The Silver Creek Hatchery has one area that raises rainbow trout, big rainbow trout, and they are stocked as incentive fish to give Arizona anglers something special to try to reel in.
This year I put out 13 incentives that averaged 5 pounds. One was 8. We try to put incentive fish out every year at the beginning of the catch and release season. Next year we're going to have quite a few more because we held these over. We've never tried to raise fish second year here before. So these fish will be, instead of 1.5 years old, 2.5 years old. We might only put out 100 of them and keep another 100 for the following year. Then they'd really be incentive fish.
This promises to be a great year for fishing in Arizona. So if you haven't fished for a while, or if you have family members who have never tried it, this would be a perfect time to get together, head outdoors, and spend some quality time discovering the joys of fishing. And rest assured, the Arizona Game and Fish Department will continue to provide plenty of fish just there for the taking.
All right.